I was in a program at Eastern New Mexico University where the focus was in the preparation of students who struggled in school. The conditions that were set for us to be successful, there was no failure there. We didn't have to present ourselves to the learning space with all of these indicators that would say to someone, these students are going to be successful. Rather, we were to come with lots of ganas. We had to have this desire, this passion, this commitment for social justice and to be teachers and to work hard and to be present every day to the learning. No one said, well, they flunked out of high school, how could they possibly go to college? No one said, well, that's a single mom. We were successful. And so the model here at Kansas State was based on that. That's the birth of the Besitos program here within the college. Besitos in Spanish means little kisses. Besitos is a program that for the last 25 years has prepared and followed some amazing teachers as they have gone out into the world to create equitable spaces for all children. I saw the opportunity here because the communities had an emergent population of Latinos, and I saw that there were very few teachers of color.
School counselors were telling us that they had very qualified, very promising students who did not have funding for college. And could we do anything about that? And that's what led our efforts to begin to explore how we might fund their efforts to get teaching degrees. So around 1999, we received our first federal funding to begin educating Besitos students here at K-State. Over the course of the program, we provided education to 190 students. Most of those, in fact, taught at or very near their own home communities.
I'm in awe of the role teachers play every single day in molding the lives of young people. We need teachers who are focused, that have a great deal of passion, and are supported, not only fiscally, but with their education to make sure we're doing everything we can to have the best possible experience where it counts. The Besitos program gave us that opportunity to work with first-generation families and give them that opportunity to be supported, to go from not understanding the rudiments of higher ed to actually having a tender, loving, supportive family to help them be successful here at K-State.
The Besitos program worked off of an asset approach. What are the Besitos students bringing, and how can we build on those strengths? And because that was modeled in our program, that's what the Besitos students are doing in their own classrooms. They're saying, what are the strengths of my students? And many of them went back to those communities and are there in classrooms, in school buildings, impacting students in powerful ways each and every day.
I'm Julia Morales, and I'm a second grade teacher at Buffalo Jones Elementary. I'm a Besitos graduate from Kansas State University. I think some of my earliest memories are definitely in Southwest Texas, and I think what really comes to mind are running around with all the cousins, music, barbecues, all your aunts and uncles just gathering around. And I think that sense of community, that sense of involvement with one another, that hasn't always been consistent in my life, but I think it's definitely a key part to how I am a teacher today. I was totally geared up in high school to study fashion and merchandising and maybe design and just work in retail. And I started working at an after-school program, and something started to happen where these kids just became such a big part of my day-to-day life. And when that program ended, I bawled my eyes out because I couldn't believe I had grown so attached in such a short amount of time. Each situation led itself into a subsequent situation. There was the after-school program. Then there was the classes of exploring teachers as a career. And then there was bumping into Martin Segovia in the hallway. I mean, it was just all meant to be the way it lined up.
When I first met Julie, I was very impressed with her communication skills. She has a super personality, very warm and caring. And I love the way that she works with kids. I've stepped in and subbed in her classroom, and the notes that she leaves for her substitutes, and the way that she communicates about her kids, you can even feel the warmth and the caring that she has. She's just an amazing young lady that has awesome potential. We're Buffalo Jones Elementary, and we are a K-4 building. 92% of our population is Hispanic, and so many of the students speak Spanish as a first language. And so it's been my job to really find great Spanish-speaking teachers to support our students. So our dual language program has been around for 24 years. We've done tons of research to find what works for our students. And currently we have kindergarten first, and then we transition our students to English at second grade. So when the kids come into second grade, they're very bilingual and have acquired all the foundations to transfer their learning into a second language. Our kids do an amazing job, and I believe that that is one of the reasons that our district continues to support our program, because we have students that, when you look at scores, our Spanish track outperforms our English students. And we've had students that have graduated, have been successful, have gone on to college. We've had valedictorians, and so we're very proud of that. And it's very fortunate. For 23 years, I've had wonderful school board members and superintendents that have supported our philosophy in teaching our kids.
I think the work and the advocacy that really motivates me for students and family is wanting them to have a presence and having a place, whether it is in education, whether it's in whatever avenue that they choose to be in. And I think experiences that they wouldn't necessarily have, I really want to open their eyes and open their lives to things that they would have never considered. It's kind of funny to see their little light bulbs click on and be like, wait, what? I can do this? I can be that? I can go to college? And I feel like a lot of times people don't necessarily always feel like they are cut out to do things like that because they don't fit a mold or their parents didn't do it. This not feeling good enough, not feeling like capable enough, it is a message. As much as we don't see it to be a dominant one, there's a lot of little subtle messages of not being good enough, even at school. I think family is one of the most beautiful gifts, but it also can be a burden. My little world inside my classroom, that's what I want it to be, is a family. And sometimes it does not always feel like a happy family, but at the end of the day, they're the reason why I come back. That's one of the great things about the Besitos program, because you had your people there. You may not have known each other. You may not have been from the same city, the same town, but they instantly became your family. You had that same sense of nerves. You had that same sense of like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Because we have no idea what we're doing here. We've never done this before. It was this family that helped you to navigate and helped you to just get through college. So they led you to where you needed to be. And then, when you had your own little wings and you flew and you plugged yourself in, it was nice. The biggest contributions that Besitos has contributed to me, the heart for what you do, knowledge of culturally and linguistically diverse populations, and passion. Being able to go into a situation like a classroom and approach it with passion and just make it something that you love to do. I think that the amount of reach that you can have within a student's life is so immense. It's not about doing it for your fame, but just the potential that you have to make a difference in their lives. There's nothing that is greater than that. It comes with a lot of heartache sometimes, and it comes with a lot of stress. But when you finally see that growth or that something bloom or that result of that, it is like the most beautiful thing in the world. You know, it always goes back to family, that sense of connecting, that sense of belonging. I have to have that as a professional. I really do, because if I don't have that, I feel like I fade away. Kids are worth it. They are worth the time. They are worth the buildings and the materials. They're worth it. They're worth investing in.
I began my life in a home full of joy. The house was filled with talk, it was filled with singing. And it was in those formative years that I developed my love for learning. I lived with my grandma and grandpa. Later on, when I came to the States, things were a little different. I expected it to be like Disneyland. Only when I came here, after not having lived with my mom since I was 3 months old, she was always working at the meatpacking plant, and she worked the night shift. So I hardly ever got to see her. So it was a harder reality. All of a sudden, I didn't know the language of the school. When I lived in Mexico with my grandma, I felt very smart and very talented, and all of a sudden, no one knew that about me. My name is Maria Magdalena Ortiz Smith, and I am a professional learning specialist and a Besitos graduate. I am currently working as an education consultant. Sometimes I'm facilitating district leadership teams, other times I'm coaching teachers in the classroom, and there are some times when I teach workshops and other times where I facilitate curriculum alignment. So I student taught in Garden City at Buffalo Jones, and I thought beginning of the year first graders would be too overwhelming for me, but I was just blessed with excellent mentors. One of the highs of being a Latinx teacher in our communities is being able to relate to families and being able to relate to students and being able to model for them that they can go after the biggest dreams that they've ever dreamed. Sometimes we underestimate what kids can do, and those are the hardest moments for me, because I know that if you're given the opportunity and you're given the tools, you can conquer anything.
I first began to work with Maria 8 years ago when she was an instructional coach in Dodge City. She was working in one of the buildings that I happened to have the opportunity to serve, and she immediately became a light in that building that was struggling. She was solution focused. She really worked hard and advocated for all students, but in particular brought the lens of the EL student and the EL parent to the table. Maria is really a person that listens with the intent to understand and inserts herself when she feels confident that the knowledge she has is going to contribute to the conversation. When Maria talks, people listen. One of the things Maria has done for us is develop an EL simulation where teachers can go through the day of the life of an EL parent and EL student. So the note comes home and you're supposed to be at the after-school coaches meeting, and you only speak Spanish and there's no interpreter. So it takes the teachers through the day in the life to really open the eyes of those teachers so they can be more cognizant and aware of the barriers that lie between EL parents and their students' success at school. Maria, I'm proud, brings that thoughtfulness of consideration of all needs rather than those that we know.
As a teacher and as a Latina, I have special insight into the lives of kids. And where some people might see poverty, people might see kids who don't have health insurance, they might see a struggling reader, I see everything that they've already overcome, and I see all the potential that they have, just like someone saw it in me. Whenever I encounter something difficult, I think back to the times when I took care of my mom as she was passing away, and knowing and finding strength in everything that she had taught me. And those cargas, those are all important in carrying us through the rest of our lives and helping us find hope where there seems to be little hope. My strength comes from poverty. We were always welfare kids, and someone saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself and provided me with those opportunities. But now I can look back and say, look at all those things that I was able to overcome because of my grandma's love and her prayers, and because of the dreams that my mom had for me. And it comes from knowing that one day I could do that for other kids. I always wanted to be a teacher, but it was just a dream. I didn't even know the actions or the steps that I needed to take in order to become a teacher. And my mom used to say, maybe you can get a job at the office now that you have graduated. I didn't know anything about college. I didn't know how to get there, what the process of applying was. Being a teacher was just a dream. Besitos found me, and it was just the greatest opportunity that I've ever had. I didn't understand how big of a gift it was because I was so unfamiliar with the process of going to college. Now looking back, I completely understand the enormity of that opportunity. The people in the Besitos program were able to predict the needs that we had. They knew that we would need a structure. They knew that we would need that connection, that constant connection with someone who looked like us and sounded like us. And they were able to see beyond that. When I went to college, I didn't know that things that I learned from my family unit were a strength. I didn't know that my first language was a strength. We learned about the regalos that came from our families. So the prayers that my grandma said and the dreams that my mom had for me, those are all things that have helped me learn and grow. The Besitos program changed my life. Before Besitos, I didn't even know that college was possible. And it's very likely that I would have repeated my mom's story. I love telling my kids about the Besitos program and about Socorro because the program is so powerful that it impacted their lives. Poverty and trauma can be generational, and the Besitos program had the impact of changing all of that. To me, having come from Besitos means that I have the responsibility to carry on that dream and to impact others and to give opportunities because I was given those opportunities, and our kids need opportunities.
My name is Jorge Estrella, and I am the director of the Student Achievement and Resources Center at Dodge City Community College. I moved to Dodge City when I was 13 years old, back in 1993. My dad had been living in Dodge City since 1980. He brought his wife and 4 children to Dodge City, Kansas. And that was one of his desires, to bring all of his family so we could get back to living together. Coming to Kansas was very difficult. I think the worst things that I lived was learning English. I remember my brother Enrique and I were sitting at the table, and he was trying to explain to me how the be verb works because I couldn't understand it. And I was about to give up and say, I'm not gonna learn English ever, and I'm just gonna stop trying. And somehow he was able to get that through me, and that's when I started enjoying learning the language. But before, it was a nightmare. When I came to K-State, it was very difficult because I didn't know the system that I was going into. I knew that it was going to be different. I knew that I was going to be by myself. And even though I felt that I was mature enough, I knew that I didn't know a lot of the things that were needed to be successful.
So with Jorge, he struggled, as one would when you come in as a high school student and then immediately go off into college. He's taken all of those hardships, all of those cargas, all of those experiences, and he has turned them into gifts where he can now sit across from a student that he's advising and talk with conviction about how it was that he became successful. And he talks with his high school students about just because you don't write now in English doesn't mean you won't do it in the future. Because you have that native language, you have that gift, utilize it. You can write in Spanish, you can read in Spanish, and eventually those skills are going to transfer into English. He has taken all his history, all his experiences, he has put them in a package where now he has something to share with students that's real.
Looking back at my years at K-State, I believe that I had success because of the Besitos program. They tried to group us to go to the same classes. That way we have somebody else that not only looked like us or that spoke the same language that we spoke, but just to have somebody that we can rely on and somebody that we knew that was going to help us. So I remember one time that one of my professors told me that I didn't know how to write. And I agree. I mean, I didn't know how to write in English, but I knew how to write in Spanish. And everything that I wrote in there, I still have all those documents. I feel that with anybody in the Besitos program, they never wanted to take anything away from us, like our identity or how we write, how we speak, anything of that. But you guys value who we were. So the impact that the identity has on education, it's huge. It is important to know where we come from and all of the experiences and try to help the students identify themselves, to help them see who they are, where they come from. After I graduated from Kansas State University, I started working at Dodge City High School, and I was there for 10 years before moving to Dodge City Community College. I am in charge of the ESL program at the college, and our main focus is to help students transition from the Adult Learning Center or the high school with limited English and help them acquire the language so they can start taking regular classes and work as their associates or their 4-year degree. I think the reason that I feel that I'm being successful in this position is because I focus my energy on the students and not on changing the system. As long as the students are being well served and that they get whatever they need to, I think I'm doing my job. All of my students know my family. They know my wife, they know my kids, because I always bring them to class. I would like to expose them to different languages, different cultures, and I hope that when they spend time with me in my work at the college, that they are exposed to those things with my own students that are from different cultures, that they speak different languages. I remember my dad, he was not very knowledgeable about school. I think he completed 3rd grade in Mexico, but that didn't stop him from supporting us. My father, he was never there for school events, but he always pushed us to do whatever we wanted to do. And I remember him telling me that he didn't understand what I was doing, but if that's what I was wanting to do, then that he was gonna support me. I have this ring that says ELL. He worked there for 36 years and he gave it to me on my graduation day. And I carry it every day.
You know, with Jorge and with many of our Besitos students, family was the driving force. Many of our Besitos students, including Jorge, saw their families and really work hard to help them get an education. When his father retired from the beef packing plant, he gave him the ring as a symbol of how proud he was and how his dream for his children had come true. I listen to when Jorge shares that story, and I see in him a love and a satisfaction in that he was able to attain, through his dad's hard work, what many others don't. And so he appreciates that symbol in a way that reminds him every day why he does the work that he does.
Hello, my name is Margarita Alcantara, and I'm a graduate from Kansas State University. I was in the Besitos program, and I teach at Olathe North High School. As a child, I grew up in Mexico City in a convent, and so I lived there from my kindergarten through elementary. In the convent, it was kind of like military life. You have to follow a very strict schedule. You wake up a certain hour. After school, you have more chores. I end up over there because my mom, she has having a lot of health problems. And when she decided to put me there, it's because the doctors say that she might not survive when she was admitted to the hospital. So that's one of the decisions that she had to make. At that time, my sister and I, we were the little ones. I was 3 years old and my sister was a baby. And so she had to decide who was gonna take care of the kids. One of my dad's sister is a nun, and she's the one who say, I can help you with that. Coming to Kansas was very, very different from what I was used to. I remember my first Sunday here. So my brother and my dad and my sister, they were getting ready, and I thought they were getting ready to go to church because that's what we used to do in Mexico. And then I was like, okay, so where are you guys going? And say, we're going to work. It's like, but today is Sunday. And they said, well, welcome to America. So that was a really shock for me. Well, I think my mom is the one who really influenced a lot on me to pursue education. She doesn't know how to read, how to write, but she encouraged us a lot, please don't stay like me, go to school because I'm like a blind person. That really encouraged us to continue. I work at so many different places when I came here to this country, and hard jobs like the beef packing plants. Those are really hard jobs. So when I was almost 30 years old, I was like, I don't want to be in this place the rest of my life. I need to go back to school. And also my kids, because at that time my girls, they were in middle school, and I was like, how can I tell my girls that school is important if I didn't went to school? I need to be an example for them. And also, as Latinos, sometimes you get it down when you're a female and you have kids and you're a single mother. I want to show my family that, even though I have kids and I'm a single mom, I'm gonna show them that I can do that too. When I was at the community college, I had the opportunity to tutor students, but that was not the only thing that helped me to become a teacher. It was when I had the opportunity to teach the GED and the adult education. When I started helping other adults like me, I really like it. And I was like, I think really I want to be a teacher because I'm helping others and that makes me feel good. I'm going to make a difference later on. When I had the opportunity to go back to school here, I received a lot of encouragement from a lot of teachers so that they believe in me. Even if I was not a traditional, like regular student, I went back to school when I already have kids, so I feel very welcome and encouraged to continue. The Besitos program, I think we understand our ELL students better because we went through very similar challenges. So has helped not just me, but it's helping me help other students to continue and to see that, you can do it. If I did it, you can do it. For me, when I was in the Besitos program, we formed like a little family. We helped each other, like finding ways to survive in the university because most of us were coming from different backgrounds. En lo personal sí fue difícil y sobre todo más cuando ya estaba casi a punto de terminar la carrera y más cuando perdí a mi segunda hija. Fue bien difícil, pero afortunadamente muchísima gente en K-State me apoyó muchísimo, amigos y todo, como usted, estuvieran siempre ahí. Entonces, mucha gente estuvo diciéndome, sí, adelante. Perdón, también lo hice por ella, de salir adelante. Pues fueron muchas, como usted, yo me acuerdo que usted estuvo siempre en todas las cortes preguntando y viendo cómo iba el caso de mi hija. Y recuerdo también mucho a Gabriela Sabetes, que yo ni siquiera hasta me había dado cuenta, ya casi habían pasado más de un mes y yo estaba en mi departamento dormida, nada más en mi cuarto, ni durmiendo, solamente estaba metida, pero yo recuerdo ya entrar a mi apartamento y fue por mí y me llevó con la psicóloga para empezar citas de psicología. Pero muchos profesores me dijeron, todos los profesores que tenía, no te preocupes por las clases, las podemos parar, las congelamos y por todo el año me ayudaron todos, amigos y todos y familiares. Eso me ha ayudado mucho a comprenderlos a los estudiantes porque, como se menciona, muchos de ellos han pasado por muchas cosas y no sé si es que por lo que yo he vivido, pero yo siento que muchos estudiantes se abren conmigo y me cuentan sus cosas y me dicen lo que han pasado. Y algunos de ellos, aunque me lo cuenten, algunos de ellos se dan por vencidos, ya no quieren seguir y si no tiene caso venir a la escuela y todo eso. Entonces hay veces que les he tenido que decir, mira, yo pasé por esto también y sí, es difícil. Cuando pierdes a un familiar, todo es muy difícil, pero la vida sigue y uno tiene que seguir por uno mismo y tú lo tienes que hacer por ti, por las personas que quieres. Y me ayuda a ser más comprensible, más paciente, a tratar de apoyarlos más que nada, a darles ganas, porque me recuerdo yo estaba en esa situación y si todas estas personas que me ayudaron no hubieran estado ahí, yo creo que yo nunca hubiera terminado la escuela. What I like the most about teaching right now is that I like the age that I teach. I never thought I was gonna like teaching teenagers, especially because at that age, you think you know everything. But then I think about it, well, some of these students, they don't even have their families. Some of these students, they see you like their mother, like someone else that they can trust. And I like it. I can give advice to them. And not just learning the math, but it's also learning about what opportunities that they can have that they don't have idea, what they can do. When I was working on the big packing plants, on the motels, I went to work because I need to go to work. But here I don't feel like, I need to go to work because I need the money. No, I like to go see my students. They become like your second kids.
I was born in Texas. When I was 2 years old, my parents took me back to Mexico. So I grew up in Zacatecas. I have 5 brothers and 4 sisters. My dad is a carpenter, and my mom was a housewife. Saturdays and Sundays with mom and dad, we always watch movies together as a family. My dad will cook for us, and my mom will teach us how to cook so that we can spend more time with them. I am Betty Sanchez. I live in Emporia, Kansas. I've been working at Village Elementary School for about 9 years. I am a Besitos student, and I'm a graduate from K-State University. When I was in Mexico, they always told us that they wanted us to be someone important in life. The reason that I came to the United States was my dad said that at some point in life I was going to be needing for me to get a career and learn the language. At the age of 15, I moved to Hugoton, Kansas, and they sent me with my uncle and his family, and that's where I started my high school year. Since I was in elementary school, I knew that I wanted to become a teacher because I wanted to help my brothers and sisters. Since I was the oldest, so I knew that was something that I wanted to be because I come from a big family, and I knew that that was something that I needed to do in my life, that it would be helping others. When I started high school in Kansas, it was very difficult for me to communicate with other teachers, but my ESL teacher spoke both languages, and she always told me not to be embarrassed about speaking the language because then I will not be able to learn it if I was still afraid of speaking it to other people.
Betty and I have been married for now, this is going to be our 13th anniversary. So we started talking, and she would always come and cook for me. That's the easiest way to get a man's heart. Betty is always preparing her lessons. She is always working hard. She is always making phone calls to parents, and she's always wanting to reward her students. In my case, it was my calling. I wanted to be a teacher and helping others who are at the same situation we were, and how we can pave the way for them. And we're there for the students. In this case, students who don't know English.
The Besitos program is like your second home. You have a lot of friends in there that are younger, that are older than you, and they can be sharing a lot of different experiences to you. There are families that you can make a lot of connections to them. So I think Besitos program is one that you can be in a room and talk about anything, talk about mom, dad, brothers, sisters, cousins, especially about the food too. I mean, that's the one thing that you miss when you're away from home. So then we ended up getting together sometimes at different houses and then cook. So I think Besitos program was more like a family. They wanted you to feel comfortable, feel welcome, and knowing that there's more people there that are similar to you and that they're gonna hear your voice. When I first went to college, it was very tough for me. I got homesick. I didn't speak the language. I was placed in a classroom with many different cultures because my English was not good enough, and I was not able to take any regular classes.
It was a challenge for her, but then at the same time, it was just more like a psychological barrier in there. I mean, we think, oh, I'm not worthy enough, or I don't know enough English. That's our thing, basically, when we come to this country and we learn the language at a later age. We're like, I don't speak English good enough.
When I became part of the Besitos program, I felt more comfortable because I can make the connections with the other students. After sharing their stories and knowing where they were coming from, some of them had their families back in Mexico, other ones were living with uncles, or they were living by themselves. I felt the connection. I felt more secure about myself. I was able to be in regular classrooms. I think the Besitos program had helped us a lot for us to think about why we want to be teachers. I think because of the experience that we have and the things that we have passed through and the need of the students that we see in our classrooms, help us to stay there. I feel like if I leave, what's gonna happen to those students? Who's gonna lead them?
Yo me siento la conexión con los estudiantes que vienen recién llegados, que no hablan ningún idioma, otros niños que están aprendiendo inglés y pueden conectarse conmigo y porque pueden hablar el mismo idioma. Los papás, principalmente, cuando llegan y me ven, se les ve la cara asombrosa de ¡ay, habla español! Y como que veo más el acercamiento de los papás, como que vienen más a las reuniones, a las actividades que tenemos, porque pueden encontrar esa conexión y siento que es algo que no todos pueden dar. Entonces yo me siento muy orgullosa de poder ayudar, aunque sea de diferentes culturas, pero el idioma es el mismo, entonces podemos aprender vocabulario diferente, pero el poder ayudarlos a salir adelante. It's sometimes a challenge, especially when you have parents that sometimes look at you like you don't belong here. Piensan que uno no tiene, por ser uno veo me veo joven, piensan que no tiene uno mucha experiencia, o al verme hispana piensan que no hablo el idioma, que no voy a enseñarle bien a sus hijos. Y de hecho este año he tenido alumnos que son del programa del Gifted, que son especiales, tienen su nivel académico muy alto. Entonces yo creo les preocupaba de que voy a enseñarle a su hijo, cuántos años tengo estudiando, trabajando aquí. Pero luego al mes, 2 meses, los papás vinieron y me dijeron que no habían visto a su hijo tan contento en la escuela, el querer aprender y que está feliz de todo lo que está aprendiendo, que está muy contento, que quiere venir a la escuela todos los días. Entonces,
Okay, let's see, are we ready? Amazing job, table number 2 and table number 3, they were responding. Some examples of successes that I have seen on my students are that they are more open-minded, they feel more comfortable speaking. Now that they're in 5th grade, 6th grade, they're always very appreciative of teaching them Spanish and how it's been helping them to communicate with other people in town or when they travel to other places. I still have students that come from high school. They come and check on me and said, thank you so much for what you taught me when I was in your class. Or because of what you did, I feel like I'm gonna be someone successful in life. The role model that I want to be for my students will be one that never gives up. Even though things are hard in life, you always have to look at the doors that are open for you.
Why is it important to know where we come from? And why is it important for those who teach us to know our biography? Sabino Ulibarri says, if you don't know where you're coming from, will you know where you're going? And oftentimes we get placed upon us messages that begin to fade away the true colors that we really are, and our histories that we should all be proud of, in our language. And so oftentimes in the Besitos program, we had to be reminded. We have to be reminded that although we have these societal burdens or messages that we begin to own, that we have to bring out that beauty and those gifts that we have that really outshine any message that we get. We have to get that from our family, and we have to get that from the mentors, the teachers, reminding our own students in the future that although you might be burdened with things that sometimes seem so overwhelming, there's hope and there is the gifts that you have within you. Every child has a gift. We just have to go look for it and make it shine. And I think that with our Besitos students, there is no gift like being a teacher. And our work at Kansas State University within the College of Education was to constantly remind every student that whatever message they got, there was a louder message within them to send out, and that there were those people who believed.
So the impact of the Besitos students earning a bachelor's degree ripples in so many ways. It impacts their own family, but it also set a model of, I can do this. They can say to students, yes, college is hard, but I did it and so can you. So the legacy Besitos left was an emphasis on students an emphasis on individual needs and support structures, and an emphasis on changing the demographics of teachers in Kansas. It's important that we are making very concerted efforts to ensure that all students have authentic models that they can connect to. This person looks like me, talks like me, gets me. So it's building those relationships in very authentic ways that was laid in the foundation of the Besitos program.
We desperately need teachers who can work with refugees and students who've had traumatic situations in coming to this country. And so it's critical that we begin to build our capacity to better educate these students before they're lost in the system.
When a family walks in and sees that there is someone sitting there that looks like their child, it just solidifies for the child and the family that there's equity in the space. We can't talk enough about the need for teachers of color in our classrooms because that diversity of educating one another is powerful.
I'm just not aware of a program that had this kind of success rate. Not only students finishing in education, but going on and remaining in education. What a tremendous investment on the youth of today and the families of tomorrow.
So to all of you Besitos students, my message to you is to continue to do what you're doing, to continue to love and be committed to a profession that's like no other. Y adelante para siempre, and keep encouraging your students.